today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. What is the residual butthurt and the residual hate that Jaron Ennis now receives?
A user that goes by the name Triple H 1200 left this comment under my last video saying, "Of course, they are both fresh. Virgil is running around with a fake undefeated record, and Booty is ducking the meat grinder at 154 to hide at 147 for the next 2 to 3 years and let it thin out."
A lot of this guy's boxing takes are really poor. I want to preface everything I'm about to say with this, that most of the comments this guy leaves under my videos are pretty dumb.
Oh, so?
He's a Demetrius Andrade fan. Is that not self-explanatory enough? This is one of the guys that thought Canelo was ducking Demetrius Andrade. And I remember in a build-up of the Fury versus Usyk fight, he couldn't shut up about how Fury was gonna run over the little man.
The fraud, as he called Usyk.
Likely one of these American idiots who thought that Fury was special just because he beat a one-trick pony in Deontay Wilder. That's the association, the hierarchy of thought, if you even want to call that a school of thought.
Get to the point.
This guy's boxing takes are usually pretty bad. And here's another one. He thinks that Boots is avoiding the tougher competition at 154 by staying at 147.
So bad about that.
You can't duck fighters that aren't trying to fight you. So consider that Boots is having a lot of trouble getting the PBC guys in the ring at 147. What makes this guy think it's going to be any better at 154?
Sebastian Fundora's got 2 of the alphabet titles at that weight.
If Boots can't get a fight with Stanionis, and he can't get a fight with Mario Barrios, what makes you think he's going to get a fight with Sebastian?
All those guys are on the same side of the street.
Did you think this through? Who's he going to go up there and fight? Sebastian? Spence?
This is the meat grinder.
Terrence Crawford? Terrence already made it clear. That ship has sailed.
He's not gonna fight Boots.
This is what this guy's really mad about. That for a while, Jaron Ennis was using the name of Terrence Crawford to achieve notoriety, with no real intention of fighting him. And on that much we agree, he was definitely clout chasing.
But you heard what Terrence Crawford said. He's got bigger fish to fry. Boots is not a priority.
So take a head count. He isn't likely to get a fight with Sebastian Fundora. He's even less likely to get a fight with Errol Spence Jr., and he is even less likely to get a fight with Terrence.
What's this meat grinder you're talking about?
What do you think? He's going to get a fight with Tim Kazoo? Tim Kazoo, who's coming off a violent knockout loss? Another PBC guy.
He's gonna get a fight with him?
We know that neither Israel Madrimov or Sergey Bohachuk are available at this time because they are about to fight each other,
You moron.
in December, whereas Boots is set to come back in February. And if those two guys are fighting in December, fighting in February against Boots or anybody else is too quick a turnaround.
Illogical.
So once again, who is it that you claim he's avoiding at 154?
It's not even for defense of Boots or liking Boots. I just don't like stupid statements. I don't like stupid shit.
This is what happens when you grow up without a father figure. You act like a woman.
He's acting like a broad.
He's all catty. He doesn't like Boots, and it's likely over the Crawford stuff. And I didn't like that stuff either. I didn't like the way they were using that guy's name, but that's over. That's done.
Some things are more important. It's important that he get the chance to unify the welterweight division, because if he doesn't, those guys are not gonna fight each other.
Been all through that. Neither Mario Barrios or Eimantas Stanionis made a play to get Brian Norman in the ring, and the same is true in reverse, that if Boots leaves, that division dies on the vine.
It ends up like middleweight. Is that better?
Is that gonna make you feel better? Another dead division in the sport of boxing. That would be better than them unifying with him.
Are you stupid?
No, he's spiteful, like a woman. What have I told you about the American boxing fan in today's postmodern era of boxing? These are the kinds of people that would cut off their nose to spite their face. Indignant, unintelligent people that always have something to say before they've thought it through.
Thinking. Critical thinking is not his strong suit.
I am not the biggest fan of Jaron Ennis. Quite honestly, I'm not a fan of Jaron Ennis, but I'm a fan of boxing. Ennis versus Stanionis is a good fight. If you can make it, so is the Norman fight.
You should be applying public pressure on them to do their job. but you don't want them to because you don't want him to get that opportunity.
To unify, to become undisputed.
You're into gossip more than you're into boxing. You're into drama.
That's what you're here for, not boxing, because if you've reached the point where you're advocating against fights,
Against unification matches.
it's not even that 154 isn't a deeper division than 147, because it is. There's more talent at 154, but there are also more politics. If I felt those were viable options for Jaron Ennis upon moving up, I could see, but he would get the same treatment from the PBC guys at 154 that he's now getting at 147. The only real viable option is Virgil Ortiz, and I still question whether Oscar is serious about making that fight.
Remember how much he was taunting Shakur Stevenson with the name of William Zepeda?
Just so that when Shakur achieves free agency, he holds the fight to ransom. He says he won't make it unless Shakur signs the Golden Boy. Remember that?
So when he says he wants to make Boots versus Ortiz now, I don't know that that's not just him trying to take the piss out of Eddie.
I don't know how viable Virgil Ortiz is as an option for Boots. Even still, that's only one fight.
One.
This is one of these guys that's just in a rush to say something negative because that's what he's all about. He props up a piece of shit like Andre so he can say something negative about Canelo, props up another piece of shit in Tyson Fury so he can say something negative about Usyk. It's the same here.
You're propping up fights that in all likelihood wouldn't happen so you can say something negative about Boots.
Why don't you hurry up and get the stick out of your ass?
Take a Midol.
Grab a heating blanket, princess, because you're on your rag.
We're here for boxing, more than gossip, more than drama. We might go over those subjects from time to time, but what is paramount is boxing.
The actual boxing. In men's super middleweight news, an unexpected bit of intel earlier today from Camille Estefan, who handles the career of unbeaten up-and-comer Christian Mbilli north of the border in Canada. He said that Pacheco said yes, negotiations now.
Do you believe him?
Well, I'm not calling Camille Estefan a liar per se, but even if negotiations have started, they can always fall apart over the money. How many times have we seen that? And what side of the street are they going to do it on? Are they going to do it on DAZN, under Matchroom, or on ESPN, under Top Rank?
Where are they going to do it?
I don't want to make any bold presuppositions, but Diego Pacheco very much is a Matchroom fighter, and Matchroom isn't sharing him with some other outfit the way that Top Rank is sharing Christian with Eye of the Tiger management, because that's what he really is, an Eye of the Tiger management fighter. If you're seeing him on Top Rank shows, it's via their deal.
But he was an Eye of the Tiger management fighter before Top Rank came into it.
What's your point?
I get the sense that Matchroom is a bit more invested in Diego than Top Rank is invested in Christian, at which point, who's going to get who to cross the street? Who's going to put up the money?
It's a question, not a statement. Who do you think is going to pay who to come over? Matchroom to Christian or Top Rank to Diego?
The fight.
Well, I've talked about the fight and the stylistic matchup, that Christian Mbilli is a pressure fighter, whereas Diego is a boxer-puncher, and boxer-punchers have the edge over pressure guys. You can't just stand in front of them wailing, throwing punches and bunches. They'll use that against you.
We saw a similar version of this fight 1 or 2 weeks ago when Gabby Fundora fought Gabriela Alanis. Same deal.
Almost an identical situation to where the boxer-puncher has a height advantage, a reach advantage, like Diego's got over Christian.
Stylistic advantage.
You saw the outcome. You saw what Gabby Fundora did to Gabriela Alanis. I believe that this fight would end in similar fashion.
Yeah, Diego might have to work a little harder than she did. He might struggle a little more.
But I think he wins it. I think he gets the knockout because you can't just stand right in front of him. Diego has real stopping power. This kid is strong.
The edge in power goes to Diego Pacheco. The edge in activity goes to Christian Mbilli. But against Diego, that's really not an edge. That's an Achilles heel.
It's not an advantage that the pressure fighter can't help but to apply pressure, can't help but stay in character, stay aggressive, and stay busy. Against Diego, that would work against Christian, who didn't look too hot with a weathered Sergey Didivianchenko who only had one good hand.
Diego's got two.
Boxer puncher versus pressure guy usually yields a pleasing aesthetic. Think Gabby Fundora versus Gabriela Alaniz, Boots Ennis versus Roman Villa.
It's fun.
What's interesting is, even though Diego has a stylistic advantage, I think that Christian has the better corner, the better trainer, in Mark Ramsey, who I have a high opinion of.
Who I think is a better trainer by and large than Jose Benavidez. Remember, that's who trains Diego.
Though ultimately, the trainers can't fight the fight for the fighters. It's going to come down to the fighters. And fight by fight, Christian Mbilli stays in character. That's what pressure guys do. They don't change much from one fight to the next, irrespective of who the opponent is.
They don't change.
Even more interesting is that this is an IBF final eliminator to service as a segue to a William Skull fight. William Skull, newly crowned IBF champion, little known in this part of the world.
Pure boxing.
Diego takes this fight with Christian on. It's because he wants to get his hands on that red belt, on that alphabet title. The problem is, well, you've got the right style for Christian, but you don't have the right style for William.
Pure boxer gives a boxer puncher a lot of problems. We've seen it.
It's the movement. It's being economic, not giving the boxer puncher much to counter, much to work with.
We've seen it.
Now, you get in there with Christian, and you beat him, and that prediction sticks, you then have to fight William, and that might be a tougher assignment.
Oh yeah, I think Diego packs a big enough punch that he can knock a lot of guys out at 168, but you have to land it. You have to deliver that power. Pure boxer makes that hard to do with all that movement.
They're always moving away from you, taking something off the punch.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We don't know for sure that Pacheco versus Mbilli is going to happen. Camila Stefan says they've entered into negotiations, but even with that, they can always fall apart.
And finally, ahead of tomorrow's spectacle, resident doping expert Victor Conte said damaging updates surface as Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul doping testing protocol is questioned by Conte. Reportedly, Jake has said there would be a big panel test, as in singular test, likely at the fight. The Texas Commission has said that they are subject to random testing. They did not say that there has been random testing. While a single panel test may be efficient, its efficacy in detecting a wide range of PEDs is still questionable. Also, since there wasn't random testing, the results of the panel test will come out long after the fight is wrapped. The duo of Tyson and Paul will undergo tests a day before the eventual fight on November 15th at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, but snack founder Conte isn't convinced. After a recent update, which he became aware of, he went on to raise several concerns regarding the nature of testing while also questioning the organizers responsible for the show. For most fights, boxers have to undergo random drug testing in the lead up to the fight for VADA to sanction them fit for the bout. Conte has been vocal about the lack of random drug testing for the upcoming Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight.
It's not actually necessary that you go through VADA specifically to have a fight sanctioned, to get a boxing license to go through with a fight.
And we all know that's Victor Conte's stake in all of this. He acts as a watchdog for VADA. But VADA's not the only game in town. There is also USADA, drug-free sport, and lest we forget, the local commissions conduct anti-doping tests of their own. Not as rigorous as what you get from VADA, but better still, they do them.
It seems like Victor chastises anybody and everybody that doesn't use VADA.
And under normal circumstances, I might see, but this is less than normal. This is a 58-year-old Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, a social media influencer. I don't even look at this through the same lens as other fights. I look at this as sports entertainment. I take it for what it is, a spectacle.
Not a consequential fight, not a bona fide boxing match.
These two are not fighting for a rank, are fighting for a divisional title.
And it's for 10 2-minute rounds.
So there's no need for Victor to go barking at the mailman, stirring up a craze.
Relax.
Jake Paul weighed in at a fit and trim 227, whereas Mike, he weighed in at 228. He smacked the taste out of Jake Paul's mouth at the weigh-in.
Sure, you've seen it.
Harkening back to the melee at what was the Lennox Lewis fight when Mike Tyson lunged at him and all the chaos that ensued, this felt like shades of that. And if it's pulling at your heartstrings and making you nostalgic, then it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Combining the two factions of fans. The modern kids that follow Jake Paul and whatever he does, and the older crowd that grew up watching Mike Tyson and all his fights.
The marketing genius of not billing this as a pay-per-view, even though they could have. They're making this available to all of their 200 plus million Netflix subscribers around the world. This is big.
But is it a fight?
Now, some feel that any version of Mike Tyson is too much for Jake Paul. Any Jake Paul, any version of him.
Even a 58-year-old Mike Tyson is too much. I've heard some people say that Mike is going to carry Jake because if he really wanted to knock him out, he would.
And I see where they're coming from, that Mike Tyson will have forgotten more about boxing than Jake can ever hope to know. And even at this age, he's still dangerous. I get it.
That Mike doesn't need to be 100% or even 50% of who he was to beat this kid.
That's what sets the heavyweight division apart, that you're always one punch away from being knocked out, and you don't necessarily have to be the fastest or the sharpest. You just need to get in with one good one.
10 2-minute rounds is ample time to do it, especially when Jake doesn't have the best engine. He doesn't have the best gas tank. We've seen in his previous fights against lesser fighters that he's gotten tired.
Hard to know what to make of all of this because there are other people that don't even view this as a real fight. They think it's staged.
Maybe it is.
But it's piqued my interest and I will be tuning in. I will be going live. And I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to go with a draw tomorrow.
I don't think Jake's got what it takes to knock out Mike.
The skill, the coordination, the power.
I doubt it.
Moreover, I don't think he's going to want to mix it up with Mike mid-range to inside. He's going to bide his time, move around, try to use his jab. And Mike, God bless him, he's going to have to use those 58-year-old legs to put pressure on him.
To keep up.
He might get in with one or two good ones, glancing blows, not necessarily landing flush.
I think it's going to be a draw.
I heard Mike's got to have an EKG right before the fight.
Wow.
Hard to think of it as a fight, but I'll just think of it as sports entertainment and indulge that way.
It could be fun.
It's piqued my interest and the interest of the boxing world, as the metrics for this show are much, much bigger than the metrics for Riyadh's season Latino night.
That show is happening in the shadow of this one.
This is the big show this weekend.